Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Funky Marketing Podcast. This is the podcast where I'm talking with overall good, nice people. Those are in most cases people who are working for good people or for themselves and doing some good things. Marketers, designers, entrepreneurs, business developers, all kind of different people. And today I'm lucky to have Anna here on the podcast. Me and Anna have met I don't know, a few months ago and had like virtual coffee when we talked about a few things, and then we went on each other's like LinkedIn posts and also over the email. And I'm going to tell you now a little bit about who is Anna. She's a creative, as I think all the people who are here on the podcast are. Love to paint, build, design, communicate, but also she enjoys understanding people and what makes them tick. This is the great one, because I'm also intrigued by the people and what moves them. What she does in life, she helps startups and marketing teams implement marketing programs that drive revenue. With 10 plus years of marketing experience, she works with some big names brand like Groupon, BlazeText, Del Monte Foods, many SMBs and startups. She has led marketing at 2 tech startups, and after all that, she started her own marketing consultancy so she can reach out to more startups and SMBs. Like, this is great. Just trying to help as many people and businesses as possible. So, Anna, did I say everything correct?
Yes, you did. You did. I'm just thinking back to how we met, and it was a really funny experience because you reached out to me and wanted to connect on LinkedIn, and I
forget that.
And I typically say, I don't know you, so why should we connect? I'd rather have a virtual call to get to know you. And then you said, okay, strange, but sure, let's do it. And then we did. And then we talked, and I was like, this is such an amazing person. And I was about to say no to connect with you. And I'm so glad that we met, because you're doing such great things with your company. And I think there's a lot of things that are related with what we're doing. So it was such an interesting conversation. And then we connected.
Yeah, I totally forget about it. It's an unusual experience.
That's right.
So basically, I know that like both of us started our companies during the pandemic. I started it in January. Where did you start yours?
January. So we basically have started at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah, the same. I started mine on January 13th. This is the date when I registered it.
Yes. Very, very similar to you. That's right.
But on the contrary to you, like I'm the one who doesn't have to take care of anybody except myself and like my future wife. But you started the company just before the pandemic with 2 kids, right?
Yeah.
So tell me, what was that experience like?
Well, in January, I was so pumped. I was like gearing up. I had my, outreach, my email outreach that I was doing for outbound, and I was letting everyone know that I had this company, and it was great. And then I had a client, for a couple of months, and then the pandemic hit, and then my kids were home. And it was like, wait a second, this is not how I envisioned it. I had the whole day to do this business stuff, and now I don't. So it was rough, just like it was for everybody that's experiencing this, whether you've got your own business or you're working full-time for somebody. Having kids, I have a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old at home, and husband at home is rough. So how did we make it work? We kind of split up our day. So I had the kids in the daytime, And so that went all the way up to lunchtime. And then I basically handed them over to my husband, and he was working. He's a engineer. So he was like doing his development projects, and then he was kind of like watching over them. I don't know. I just basically said, here you go. And then I was focused on my work. So that's how we were able to manage it. I don't know if I didn't have that sort of schedule where I could just hand them over and we had that flexibility, I would not be able to continue working. So
it's been a real challenge even for the people that don't have kids. And when you have like two of them, which are basically running around, I don't know, I have a nephew which is like 5 years old, so I know what's that age and how the kids are like when they are that age. I mean, it's hard. Like my nephew is like, don't call me. His name is Isaac. So don't call me Isaac. My name is Minecraft now.
Minecraft. There was a lot of there was a lot of iPad time. There had to be, right? Because you can only hold their attention on other activities for so long. So yeah, somehow we made it work. And you always look back and you think of your past experiences, the ones where you're like, I don't even know if I could repeat that again. How did I even do that, right? So I look back at that time as a really tough time. And only recently, my son went back to daycare like a couple months after. It was really bad in March. And my daughter only recently started going to in-person school Monday through Friday. So it's been, it hasn't been completely normal, since I don't know when. I can't even remember. Since January.
Yeah, looks like it. It's been a challenge. Like even before pandemic hit, I was like working from my apartment since like October, I think, when I left the agency where I worked before, and like just 2 months ago, I said, okay, I need an office, I need a space where I can go out of the apartment just to have that mindset, just to ride my bicycle, listen to the podcast, to the music on the way, and just like enjoy the world again.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
So there is one thing that I have no experience in, and this is like transitioning from working in the corporate environment to like becoming an entrepreneur. And I want to kind of hear your thoughts about it, how the process went. And also, I don't know if you have been on LinkedIn as somebody who is working in the corporation before you started to like sound like you, and also that part of the experience.
Yeah. When I was working in corporate up until, January, when I started up my own business, my personality on LinkedIn, I didn't have one, right? Not really. I was just, when I got excited about something that the company was doing, just like many other people, I would post about it. And that's unfortunate. And I realized that when I left corporate, and I was like, wait, I want everyone to know about me. And it's more than just the company that employs you. It's your experiences. It's the thoughts going through your head. It's the, things that you've worked on. It's the strategies that you're coming up with, or the ideas that you're coming up with. And it's a network that you're building on there too. So I realized that almost too late. And so if there's anything that I can, any advice that I can give around that, is that start to build, if you're interested in building your personal brand on LinkedIn, start to build that early. And it shouldn't be about the company, it should be about you. Because companies will come and go, but you are always there. You are your brand. And so you need to think about like what matters to you. What are you thinking about day to day? What are you driving towards? And then have that be your platform for voicing those ideas and those things on LinkedIn. So that's what I do now. A lot of the things that I talk about are related to my experiences working at startups. It's related to my business now. It's related to the clients I have, the work I'm doing with startups. So very, very focused. And I think that's why people, they know it's very clear, like you will be connected to Anna, that this is the stuff that she's going to talk about. So that was my purpose when I'm getting posts up on LinkedIn. And what was your other question around getting started?
Yeah. Basically, what was it like when you started? Did you know from the start what are you going to do? What will be your specific target or the service or those kind of things? Or you spend some time looking for those answers? Like in my case, I had no clue. I knew that I'm not going to do performance marketing, but I knew that I'm going to do something connected to the content, to the brand, to the long-term things. And so when we started, we offer our services to the, e-commerce, to solopreneurs, to SaaS, to all different kind of companies in the industry. So while working with them, we figure out, okay, these ones are not for us. So we're not going to work with e-commerce. We're going to move more to SaaS. Then, okay, it's not just SaaS. It's more of B2B companies that use tech in any kind of way. So also like localization and translation companies, or companies that use software to make the companies make better decisions, or the others who are doing digital transformation of the digital supply chain, all kind of different industries, but all related to the tech. So how the process went for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. Because I'm in marketing, you're in marketing, we know that focus is so important. Simplifying is so important, and super laser focused targeting is so important. I knew that, yes, my background, I do have some big name brands like Blistex and Groupon, but I was not looking to work with companies like that. That's why I went into the startup world, and I really enjoyed my time there, and I felt like I could really make an impact for in the startup world. And so I knew right away that that's who I was targeting. It's such an exciting space. It's that I just get so much energy from founders that are like in a love affair with their product, and they want to change the world. And that's something that I love, that emotion, right? And connecting with founders and CEOs and marketing leaders at startups. So I knew pretty early on that that's who I was targeting. And I decided the hard part is, and I was talking to someone else about this, because there are people out there that don't want to target startups. They hate startups. They're like, they're like, startups don't have money. They're not going to bring on a marketing consultant. They might bring them on, but then they'll pay you less than what you're worth. And so I'm actually trying to prove them wrong. So that's kind of my goal, right? Because I would disagree with that. I think that marketing is in the eye of the beholder, and the CEO or the founder understands that marketing is such a valuable thing for the startup to grow. If brand is such a valuable thing for the startup, then they will actually bring you on board, and they will value your expertise, and they will consider you to be the strategic advisor. And there are a lot of startups out there that are looking for that. So the challenge that I have then is to find out who those startups are that do value this kind of expertise. So so I knew very early on that I was targeting the seed funded Series A, Series B, because that's the world that I come from. I joined a couple of companies when they were 50 people, and stayed with one company that grew. I stayed with them for 2.5 years, and another company for 1.5 years. So just, riding out that time and helping to grow that company. So that's the expertise that I bring.
I love it. There are not that many people who are into those things, like just because they want to. And they feel like this connection with starting something new, gathering around the great product, or the great team trying to come up with the great product. Those are all things that are important. I mean, I'm not really going into working with startups a lot. We always tend to have at least one, so we can get into the dirt and see how the things are going on, just to keep the team up to date with all the things that are happening. But like for what we do, we need a team with a clear vision, like with a culture, values, those kind of things. Startups are usually the teams that are just finding out those things and getting there. So I guess this is the part where you come in, right?
This is yeah. Sometimes they do have it. There are. It's interesting because over time I've met so many different startups, startup founders and teams, and you could have a 10-person company, but your mission and vision and culture is there. You can have a 150-person company, and your culture and mission and vision is a mess. So it really depends on. It really depends, I guess, right? So, but I have come in and I have helped in the early stages where they're just trying to figure it out, and it's such an important part of the company. It's not just the product you provide; it's also like what's your why, right? You probably understand that. That's one of the most important things. What's your why? What's your reason for being? Who are you targeting? What are you trying to solve for them? What are the challenges you solve? So I do help at that point too, but there are plenty of startups that have that figured out. And that's also great. I help jump in there. I was going to, I think I was going to mention one other thing. Yes, I was going to talk about the fact that there are also startups that really just want you to come in and just execute. Like we just need someone to do performance marketing. That's it. There are startups that want you to help with both the strategy and the execution part. And then there are startups that just want you as like a strategy person to help the marketing team. So the thing that I don't do is come in there and just execute. Because I think that you can find experts that can do that, and not, you don't have to bring me in. I would actually recommend do not bring me in for that kind of work. What you bring me in for is
I love that. This is the thing that I'm doing too. So you can get somebody else to do it and pay them for what they are worth, and they're going to do the better job. I'm better at some other things.
That's right. I do say no a bunch, and that is, I think it all comes back to I have a family, and I have, a lot of things on my mind. I've got kids. I need to focus. On the right clients. I need to focus on the right work. And so I will say no if it's just like, do this tactical stuff for me, get it done. We don't need your help with anything else. Then it's probably going to be a no. So what I come in to do is more of the strategy, helping the marketing team, or I'll do the strategy and execution because like you, I actually still really enjoy getting my hands dirty, and it keeps me up to date on like what works, what doesn't work, stuff like that. So I hesitate to let that go, but I do couple that together, the strategy and the execution.
Yeah, it's interesting. In my case, I'm trying to bring people who can do the same things as I can. Because we're doing demand, so I need people who can see the big picture, who can come up with the strategy, but also the people who can do the copywriting and all the other things. Because I want them to go through the same process that I did. So when they do, I was thinking about getting like the project manager. But it turns out that if I hire somebody to do to take care of the projects, I need to teach that person also about demand generation, because not that many people understand that, and it will be like a double job for me. So I said, okay, I'm gonna teach my guys what are some things that clients dislike, some things that they need to take care of, so they can overview of their own work. And so far it's working really great. And basically for some clients I have no idea what's going on. I'm just seeing the results, and I'm totally confident in what they do. So at this stage, I'm very happy where we at and how we are going forward. So I'm still the guy who is into strategies, those kind of things, and I'm more moving from talking to the clients into coming up with the fresh ideas, into coming up with inventions, with new things. And this is something that keeps me going.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's the dream, right? Is to, if that's what you love to do, that's what you focus your time on, and you bring on the people, and then you don't have to teach them because they already know and they're owning the projects. That's the dream. I'm not there yet. I'm basically, but I think that startups like to bring me on because I'm kind of a one person for the most part. That I have my SEO person that I bring on if needed. I have my paid advertising if that's needed. But I sort of, because I've had my hands in a lot of different things, I'm the person that they want to work with. My designer obviously is another person that I partner with. I cannot do that myself. But eventually, yeah, that would be great, is to bring people on that have that expertise, and you can spend your time thinking more about, the sales process or the ideation, the creative stuff. That's what I've actually really enjoyed. When I stopped working in corporate, I had this time and I could decide what I could do with it. That was the most exciting part, right? And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to read books, marketing books and, books for pleasure, whatever. And I'm going to do some writing. And I had,
Did you really have time to read books?
Yeah,
I'm curious
I did.
about that.
Well, in January, I did in January. But yeah, no, I had the whole day back then. And even now, I think that reading is a really big part of, I think that's also why you bring in a consultant, is because it's what they do, not just for you and the project work, but how they also continue to stay on top of trends and continue to follow influencers and get that knowledge that the founders and the CEOs, they may not be marketing people, so they don't have the time to do that. So that's extra time. That's part of, what they're paying for when they get an expert.
Yeah, exactly. And you said one thing, and this is something I want to keep the conversation on. And this is that when you are working in the creative industries, especially like in marketing, even design, copywriting, if we wanted to get more specific, strategies, of course, is you need time for some ideas to grow or for some things to come up the way you want them to be. I mean, we are all like struggling. We have that, let's say, deadline or something like that, and it's all the time in our head. It's not the deadline that the client set. In most cases, it's about our own deadline. So we are trying to give birth to those ideas. That's how I like to describe it. So how do you see that process?
Yeah, trying to give birth to those ideas. Right. So is your question like, how do I make time for that creative thought process, right? Is that your question?
Yeah, and how did you come up with the fact that, hey, actually, I need this time to just not do anything sometimes, so I can come up with better ideas, better strategies, and tactics and everything.
Well, I lived it. First of all, I was like, whoa, I'm getting excited and I'm getting passionate and I'm getting like this renewed energy from not having anything to do and letting my mind wander. So I lived it. And that was, so one of my LinkedIn posts went viral. Is around that topic of, we don't give ourselves enough time and space for the creative process. We think that's like being lazy. I don't know what people are thinking, but that's it's not true. It's actually very, very much needed for creative folks. And I kind of had that sense growing up. I played piano growing up and I painted growing up. And so I always had like creativity as part of who I am. And when you kind of like give yourself that time and space and stop all the thoughts and have like almost don't think about anything, that's the best time for things to start like flowing and to get into like a flow state. And I don't know if many people experience that, because in our day to day, we're just constantly hearing noise. We're constantly thinking about like, what's next? What do we need to do next? What's the next call? What's the next project I need to finish? I'm behind on this. And we never have that blank time in our head. And I think it's really important. And I almost like force myself to go to that place to get there. Like, sometimes we sit in the car with the kids and I do not have any music on, and they're like looking at books and it's quiet. And we can hear like slightly the wind. Right? And I'm like, this is great because
then something just sounds like shh outside of the car.
That's right.
Do you all get scared?
No, we don't get, no. But it's like some people are uncomfortable with that quiet, I think. And I think that it's good to be in that quiet zone, because that's when you can let your thoughts wander and get more creative. So I purposely build these moments into the day. So like in the morning, every morning I take a walk. My afternoons are very busy. So then I have to pick up my daughter from school at 2:00. So, but I try to build in that time again at night, like when everybody's sleeping. Maybe I'll sit quietly. So I really do forcefully try to build in this quiet time. I think it's like a great time. I also build in monthly like business thinking sessions where I just like have a clear mind. I'm not thinking about the projects I need to do, but more about the business and like, how do I take the business to the next level? Where am I not happy? What do I need to change, right? Giving myself the time to think about high level stuff versus the tactical stuff.
That's awesome insights. Some of them I can really implement. I have to say, but it sounds more like some of the things that I did, but I just did it with a different purpose. I mean, I'm also taking time, like, because we have Danube here, so I go near the river and just sit down in the early morning, most of the time before I get to the office, and I like to ride my bicycle around the city because I needed to prepare myself to be the best when it's the most needed, when it's panic. And I did that by like buying the bicycle, which is like the only one I think here in Serbia. And it's
Really?
it's a huge one, and people noticed.
Wait, is it a motorcycle or a bicycle?
Nah, just a bicycle, because
bicycle. Okay.
I like to
Okay.
also keep my condition in shape.
Yeah. Okay.
And like I'm just even listening to the music or just sometime podcast, whatever. And I like having eyes on me because I'm getting used to that thing. And then when the time comes that I need to be the best, like so many times while I was like teaching other guys how to do some things, there were some deadlines and they didn't fulfill all the things in line. So I have to sit down and get to creativity instantly like this. And I was able to do it. And I said, okay, this is what I've been teaching myself, preparing myself to be able to do. And it's the same as you are doing, like imagining what will happen if I go this way, or I need to focus on some other things. I do that also in the morning when I like to sit down for half an hour without sound, without anything, just to plan in my head what's going to happen today.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those are some things that are interesting. So you mentioned one thing that you want to talk about, and I'm interested to find out more about. And this is like you need to have everything in place about your business, everything like one landing page, specific things, and this is what you and your team and everybody who's working you need to be aligned on, right?
Yeah. Yes. So what was the question?
Yeah. So why do you do that, and how do you do that?
To say that question again, to align everyone on my website.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be like the website. I don't know, but around specific things. How do you align like everybody that works with you, or I don't know, the clients, startups, whatever?
Yeah, so my business is at a different point, I think, from yours, where you've got some folks, you know, working on projects with you. And but what I've done, what I did in, oh, go ahead. Oh, I can't hear you. I think you're on mute.
Yeah.
Oh, you're back.
You have other people who are basically not inside your business, but are outside and helping you with specific things, right?
That's right. That's right. Yes. Yes. So early on, like the way that I sort of found these people and the way that I know that they're aligned to like my way of thinking and startups, right? Because I'm not working with people that were at large companies, right? And then they started to do like contract work. It's a different experience. Typically, I work with people that are also working with the smaller businesses. But I found these connections early on because I would network so much. I just love meeting new people, and I was meeting people all throughout my career. And then I really doubled down on it when in January, when I had loads of time, and I was like, let's have coffee chats, and before the pandemic hit and everything. And then I still continued on to have the virtual conversations. Just I have Fridays where I keep it open to have conversations with people at certain points of the day. And I just build that into my schedule too. I use platforms like Lunch Club where I meet people all over the world, and I just continue. And so sometimes
I saw that. Can you tell me more about the platform? Because I just saw it in your post and I have no idea about it.
Yeah, so Lunch Club is basically it's an AI tool that connects you to people that makes the most sense for you. So you kind of like fill out your profile, what kinds of folks are you looking for, and then you start meeting with them. And I've had a lot of conversations, probably like one every week for the past 15 weeks or so. So now I know some other startup founders that I wouldn't have met otherwise. I know some other marketing consultants. I know some copywriters that focus on specific topics. So it just helps to grow my network, and I keep a list in my Google Sheets document, right? So if I meet really top-notch people, they're in my document and they're highlighted, and if I ever need to reach out for a specific purpose like that, then I will. So that's really how it's kind of, it's not complicated. I have like my list. I met people. I keep meeting people. I add to that list, and then I reach out to them if I need their expertise. But that's kind of how I've done it. And Lunch Club is it's just amazing, especially now during this pandemic. How do you meet people from all over the world? Well, that's the best way that I've found. So
it's a great idea. And so I have a question that I asked also Zineb last time, and this is like, how do you see it? When is the right time that startups need to invest in marketing? I mean, not only like investing in marketing, but maybe also bringing somebody on board if those are like the different times. What do you say?
Well, I would say very early on. I'm working with a client now that does not have salespeople, and so they just have marketing, and they will bring in their salespeople when it's the right time, when they find the right person. But really, it's the executive team that is doing like everything from selling to providing the service that they're providing. So I think that it's never a wrong time. I think early on is actually the best time because this kind of leads into the conversation about how to prioritize your marketing, right? When you're at a startup. And the first thing to do is like create that foundation, and so because marketing touches so many different parts of the business and so many different teams, the foundation is like everything, right? It's like your house. It's the why, it's the what, it's the who, it's the how do you actually deliver, it's the result that your buyer gets. Creating that foundation with marketing person to help there, right? It's doing like the voice of the customer research. It's understanding who your target audience is. What do they care about? What's the messaging you should use with them? Like being very crystal clear that you're not for everyone. and figuring out like who is that ideal customer. So then you don't bring on the salespeople that then have to figure that out themselves. It shortens that time frame, right? So they could go after, okay, we know that these are the right people. We know that these are some warm leads that have already kind of been warmed up, like we've been reaching out to them. So it should be kind of much easier for them to sell to them. So the first part is for, prioritizing marketing, like I said, foundational stuff. There's so much of that foundation that I haven't talked about, like your marketing plan, like a one pager really, of like who you should go after, how are you going to go after them, what channels are they on, so that you can best reach them, how do you engage them, how do you nurture them, how do you convert them, so all of that stuff. And then after that, you work on the brand assets, your owned channels, right? So your website messaging, now that you know what kind of messaging to use. Not getting too complex. Maybe you have like your home page and your product pages and your about page, and like an easy way to contact you or to get that demo. Maybe you want to create like some social media company pages, your marketing materials for maybe if there's a sales team there. So just like stuff that you want to show your face, to show your brand, and to message in the right way to your target audience. And then it's time to like turn on the engine, right? And like create that awareness through owned and paid channels. Like maybe you have a podcast like this, right? Maybe you have, there's all these different ways to create awareness through social and organic and social advertising, and through email marketing and through influencers. Maybe you have like weekly virtual events, community building. There's so many different ways, but you can't start there. And so I think the thing I wanted to point out here is that I meet with startups and they're like, marketing belongs at the awareness. Okay, now we're ready to make everyone aware. But then their house hasn't been built yet. Like the foundation hasn't been built yet. We're not ready to make everyone aware. Like, let's start there and then start building some things, right? To create that look and feel and brand that you want, and then start sharing that with the world.
I didn't want to stop you. This was the great part.
Yeah.
I also get sometimes into those jams when you just keep on going and keep rocking the right things. And this is great. I love the overview that you gave about when do you come up with marketing, what do you come up in the specific phase, and that you cannot go into awareness if you don't know what do you need people to be aware of, right?
That's right. There's a lot of thinking that needs to go into this. And whenever I talk to prospective clients, like, do you have personas built out? How much do you know about your target audience? And they say, oh, we know. I'm always like, oh, I got to check that out, because we might want to do some more voice of the customer research and pull out those amazing gold nuggets that will really help prepare you to get there faster, so that people can figure out who you are and what you do and make that decision. Like, you want people to get to the no, this is not right for me. You want them to get to that decision faster, or yeah, this is maybe something I might want, right? Like, that's the goal.
And when we are talking about those things, what do you think about the storyline? Usually what I see, like, startups have no idea what's that. They need to develop the stories, because we're working a lot with Impact Hub Belgrade here. They have like the pre-accelerator, and wherever I talk with founders that are into the pre-accelerator, they say, oh man, we did some things connected to the strategic narrative, to the storyline, everything else. And it was like mind-blowing, something that we didn't hear ever before. And
yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that part. Do you work with them on that, or you just take them in the right direction?
Yeah. And I have Donald Miller's books, right, where he talks about creating stories and like the story brand framework and all that stuff. And I think that is some excellent stuff. I actually tried to implement some of that for my own, for my own company with the email series that I would send out. And I think it's kind of organically part of how I help communicate the message of the startup, and the founder story is part of it. And that's part of the culture. It's part of the mission of the company. It's kind of an organic thing. But I think there is something to be said around stories and how people connect with stories more than anything else. And so that's why psychologically it actually works to talk about, there's like a villain out there and we're here to crush that villain, and here's how we do it. And I think it resonates with people. And so that's why it works. But for me, I don't really follow like a specific structure. I know that there is one that exists, but I kind of, because I've had experience, over the course of my career, it almost comes naturally. I don't know if I need to necessarily follow like a framework for that. But I do agree that story works. And even with like posting on LinkedIn, for example, the posts that do resonate with people oftentimes come from you being in a vulnerable place and talking about challenges you've had, those experiences you've had that bring you down to that more personal level that people can connect with you on. So that's part of it too. It does work. And you can test it in many different places, including, social media.
I remember an example about like choosing the villain. It was, I don't know if it was like content marketing world or the guys who are organizing the conference. So it was social media, some of the portals, but they choose, shame on me, I forgot all those things. But
that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those that people in the agencies are following, and I jumped out of that train and I'm just following like 3 people. I don't care about everybody else. And like they choose the villain to be Facebook because Facebook is limiting their reach, or they're in the news feed, organic and everything. So they focus all their efforts around Facebook being the evil guy. And I mean, Facebook is giving them materials to keep building on that evil. And I think it's just great. Just shows you that it doesn't have to be like a competitor or someone that's like, let's say, real. It can be somebody that's much bigger. It can be the state. It can be Facebook. It can be somebody else.
It can be status quo, right? Like your biggest competition can be like status quo. And a lot of my clients have that really is because they're developing these unique tech forward products and services. Status quo is the main competition. So then your story is around that and how that's holding people back. And first, like making that story around showing the fact that that's holding you back, like why you don't have to be in that state anymore.
Yeah, it's interesting because like in 2 hours, in an hour, I'm recording a podcast with Megan Bowen.
Oh, really? She's great. Yeah.
Yeah, we are. The focus is around changing the status quo, and one thing that.
Oh, interesting. It's such a big deal. It really is. Like that is something that I was. My last company was an education technology company, and that's a big thing there because in certain industries they're just pulled back by the status quo, and it's really hard to move forward. And so that's such a big thing to figure out as a salesperson, as a marketing person. How do you talk about that? What's the right time to talk about that and make people aware, and how do you say it?
Yeah, and it's happening all around, especially now that I'm working like in B2B. There are so many companies that are like, okay, we are that kind of company, we don't do those things. And from what I'm seeing, I'm interested to see if you're seeing the same thing. So the companies that are crushing it right now in the space are the companies that don't have people who are here in the companies for 20, 30 years, even 15 years. Companies that have people who are new, fresh, who are like grew up on internet, because they have the awareness of what it takes to be present online, to share your views, to share your I don't know, your emotions, your feelings, to build up your personal brand. They know about it, and you don't need to do the internal marketing in a way that they need to understand it, but you just do it so you can be aligned with them, or they can be aligned with you and your company.
That's right. That's also another reason why I like working with startups, because they do have the, the leadership team, right, which is just ready to grow, ready for what is necessary, and then they bring on folks that are younger, right, and so they're hungry to also figure it out and be scrappy and be lean and not do things that other people that have been in the same role for 15 years. It's nice and cushy, it's nice and comfortable, and that's fine for some people. But I've been in companies like that, and I do not prefer that. I do not prefer that as my environment. And so that's absolutely necessary when you're trying to, go into high growth stage. You need people that are nimble and quick and open to trying new things. And I think that freshness is absolutely needed. I also experienced that.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. I have a few companies that have people who know the value of building the personal brand, but like they didn't used to it. And it takes time to change the habits. They understand what it takes, but they just hesitate for some reasons. And for them, like, we are creating the, let's say, internal hubs, a place, a group where they can share their LinkedIn posts, just come up, get the feedback, or just come up with, I want to talk about this and these topics. What do you think about it? How can I express it better? And then the LinkedIn just becomes the extension of what's going on inside the company.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, I think that the hump people need to get over is like, don't worry about what other people think and just do it. And I think that's actually something that holds people back, and they don't think that what they have to say is going to be relevant or knowledgeable enough, or it needs to be tweaked and needs to be perfect. There are people out there that think in that way, and that's why it's hard for them to actually start. But once you start, it becomes so much easier, right? Like once you start anything and do it multiple times. Once I started practicing like a piano piece and did it multiple times, then I memorized it, and it was so easy. It's like, then it becomes like your muscle memory or your whatever takes over, and you don't even have to think anymore. So it's the same thing with just starting, getting comfortable with it, learning along the way, obviously. And then you just, I think people are just so worried about what other people will think. And especially after like starting my own business, and then after the pandemic, especially, you start to have a different look at the world. Like we are this tiny sliver, and there's so much going on, and there's so many people out there, and we're this tiny sliver, and like it really doesn't matter, especially if you stay quiet. What you do then doesn't really matter. And if you want to impact people, you have to be heard. You have to get your voice out there and like stop worrying about what other people think. So that was maybe more than you had asked for, but
No, it's great. It's great. It reminds me, I have a great example of that. So we have a client. The CEO is the guy who is maybe the number one media guy when it comes to finance here in Serbia. They have like the oldest finance portal here in the region, and other companies also. He's like the visionary entrepreneur, and he really is that. But he was used to going out to like the television, print media, those kind of, when you don't get direct feedback as you do on social media. So when we started to work on his personal brand on LinkedIn, he has all kind of stories, great stories, and he doesn't restrain himself from telling you the truth directly throughout those stories to challenge the status quo, those kind of things. But he's not used to getting direct feedback. So, and especially when you're trying to educate the market, which is mostly uneducated when it comes to things like finance, the feedback can get really harsh. And so he was like, oh, this post has like political incorrectness, those kinds of things. It doesn't have anything to do with the politics. It's
right.
just that you need to get out there because you're trying to change the narrative. You're trying to draw the different perspective for the people. And while you do that, you will definitely get the negative feedback because not everybody can agree with you. And
Absolutely.
if you don't get negative feedback, if everybody agrees with you, it means that you're not inventing. You're not trying to do different things.
That's such a great point. I also try to think when I'm posting on LinkedIn, I think about how can I bring out some emotion from people? Like, how can I kind of rub people the wrong way? I probably should be doing it more of that. But like, for example, in my last LinkedIn post this week, I talked about companies I've worked at where I don't agree with what they're doing, and they're, doing email the wrong way, and they're big. Some of them are pretty big companies, and they've just always done it that way. And I don't agree with that. So I posted about some of these processes, and maybe other companies are doing these processes. I don't agree with them. So this is what I disagree with, and this is the view that I'm taking. And you might be, getting on the train with me, or you might not be, but I agree with you. You need to have those people that are passionate about what you have to talk about, but also those people that question you and challenge you. I think both are great. You just have to be open to it. Maybe it starts the wheels, turning in your head of how else to think about something. Something that I'll bring up, which it just goes to show that people can change their mind, right? Like, you can think one way. Like last year I was thinking in one way. This year I changed my thinking at the same time this year in a different direction. Last year I was thinking, why does marketing exist? To help sales. That's what I was thinking. I went to a conference, somebody talked about it. I was like, yeah, I don't love it, but it makes sense. Marketing exists to help sales. This year I heard someone else talk, and it really resonated with me, because now I get to decide, like, marketing exists to help the customer. It's about the customer focus. And I'm coming back to that, and I am saying that is actually, I agree with that. And it's okay to change your mind. It really just depends on like what resonates with you. And I think that, that's part of why it's okay to disagree with people, because this year at this time, you don't agree with that, but maybe next year you'll come to think of it in a different way. That's all I had to say about that.
That's amazing. I love that line, and I love that you are thinking this way. So maybe sometimes I was doing the things one way, and I was thinking that this is the right way, and I fought for that. But now I can admit that I didn't know some things. I learned some new things, and some things are changing, and we are all changing. If there was more people like you admitting those things, I think we will be the more forward society.
Yes, the better for it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So we are right at the end of our conversation. So I want to ask you, what is the one thing that you think that we should have talked about, or if there's one thing that you want to say to the listeners, or anything?
Oh gosh, I hope, I want people that have anything to do with marketing to just have fun. I think that's what it's all about. Like, just have a great time. Have a great time. It shouldn't be so serious. And then I just wanted to mention a book I'm reading right now that I'm really enjoying, because I think that that's worthwhile. It's by Phil Knight. It's called Shoe Dog.
It's amazing book.
It's great. Oh, you read it? Yeah, it's so good, right? It's just like all the things that he had to go through just it takes you to a whole other level to understand.
And I like the way it is written. It's not like the novel.
That's right. It's like action packed. Yeah, it's like a thriller.
Yeah. And you can see all the troubles they went through
Yes.
just going into the new market, changing the markets,
That's
changing the
right. That's
narrative,
right.
everything
Yeah.
else.
I'm getting into shoes, I think, more now because of that book. I just like am wowed by how much effort, goes into the shoemaking process. So yeah, it's had a good impact.
There is also one movie that you should find. I don't know if there's a version in English because I had to watch one in German with the translation. But it's Puma versus Adidas.
Oh, yeah.
I don't
I
know
haven't watched it.
if you know the story, but it's great because
Yeah.
there's like two brothers, and one was on the uh, Hitler's part of the history, supporting him, and the other one
Oh,
was on the other
interesting.
side, and it's
Yeah.
really great. And all the time, even today, those factories are like this, standing, looking at each other.
That's so interesting. I'll check that out. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really great. And like when you are buying shoes today, I'm just thinking about those things, and
That's
it
right.
gets really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Cool. Thanks for doing this. Thank you for being
Thanks for
here.
having me. It was so fun.
Yeah, I hope so.
It was. Yeah, we covered a lot of ground. So great to be here.
Yeah, and I like that last line that we should have more fun. I mean, that was the main line that I use when I told the guys create some content for the Funky Marketing LinkedIn page.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still the one doing the GIFs, on the page. They're creating the copy because I'm having
Yeah.
so much fun just finding out the right GIF for sharing
That's
it.
right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. It's about finding out what's fun for you. And there are some things that you won't love as much, but make sure you're always focused on, because marketing is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to bring out some emotion and the learning, right, from people. So that's what you should focus on.
Cool. That's great. Guys, follow Anna, find her on LinkedIn. You will find links to her website and to her LinkedIn profile attached to this episode. So make sure you join the conversations. She's creating some interesting conversations. And so far, I'm just talking on this podcast with the people that are going into disagreement with others on LinkedIn, which is something that not that many people over there do. So it is something that I like and something that I appreciate. It means that we are holding up to our values and changing some things around us.